Hey, what is going on, guys? Should be starting the live stream up right now. Yep, now we are live. Give me 1 second. Let me tweet out that we are live, and then we can jump into it. We got 30 minutes. Not a whole lot of breaking news to talk about, but we will go over some stuff. And yeah, so if you guys are checking out the stream for the first time, if you're new to the channel, how it works is, what's going on, guys? We can take a look at the Vegas numbers. We'll quickly go over the snap counts if you guys missed the video last night. And then, again, a quick player-by-player breakdown, kind of cash plays, GPP plays, what I'm thinking is, the safe route to go, what I kind of like to get maybe a little bit different. Again, we have $1 million up top here, and then we'll get to questions at the end. So let's do it. What's up, guys? I missed basketball already. Well, good news is... What's up, fellow DK? Good news is we do have potentially NBA starting up before Christmas. I know the players kind of want to move that back to January, so we'll see. All right. So let's take a look at the Vegas numbers here. I do want to mention, too, the weather. There was some worry, of bad weather in this game. There still is. It's not going to be great. It might rain a little bit. There's going to be probably 10 to 15 mile-an-hour winds. So... have that in the back of your mind. I don't think you should, drastically change things, but again, just at least have that in the back of your mind when building your lineups or building your one lineup. In my opinion, doesn't change a whole lot. Maybe makes running backs a little safer. Maybe a slight downgrade to quarterbacks and kickers, but I'm not changing a whole lot because of that. So. It's a 52 over under. The Panthers are 1.5 point favorites. And let's take a look at the snap counts really quick first. So running back situation here for Atlanta. We do have one piece of news I mentioned. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it is important to do so. I'll give some information there as well. Ito Smith has been the number 3 running back for the team so far this season. He's actually a healthy inactive. It's going to be Quadri Olison is going to be the number 3 running back. He's a bruising back. I think. Not going to get a ton of work, but he could definitely see a couple touches. He's the flat min. We'll talk about more of that, but again, nothing more than a dart throw there. Gurley played 71% of the snaps that last week, which is really good to see. Don't know if we see that again. The Falcons seem pretty happy limiting his work. Brian Hill maybe gets a slight boost. No Ito Smith. He's a value play that I think for the lack of value on the slate will be somewhat popular. He's definitely in play at a price of slightly over $2,000. And then again, finally, Olsen, he'll be the number 3 guy. He'll maybe get a couple touches. He's the flat min. If you're mass multi entering, sure, you can throw him in there, but nothing more than, again, a dart throw there. Wide receiver situation, it's Julio Ridley. They're going to play majority of the game. They both got close to 80% of the snaps. Now, Gage only played 32%. I wouldn't be super worried. Again, I mentioned this in my video, but he left that game to injury. He came back. Week 6, normally he plays in this 60-ish% range. So Russell Gage is definitely someone I'm looking to for value on this slate. Would not be super worried about the only 30% of the snaps the last game. Powell played more, but that's due to Gage being when he was out. So probably not really on Powell for value. So it's, again, the main 3 guys, Julio, Ridley, and Gage, I think do get a majority of the work there. Tight end, Hurst, he'll get 70-ish% of the snaps, played 73% of the last game. He's still running a ton of routes. He's at a price that's a little bit tricky tonight. He's just in a weird price range, kind of, in between the spend-ups and, the value being Samuel and Gage and the kickers. So Hurst might go a little bit lower owned for that reason, but I think he's definitely viable in the slate. Stocker's the backup tight end. He's really cheap. Yeah, sure, you can consider him, but running back situation here for Carolina, we do have Christian McCaffrey. That was the big news. He's out still. So Mike Davis, I think, is a really, really safe play. Is he a must play? No. But for his price, I like his upside a lot. He's going to be the bell cow back, right? And he's going to play majority of the game. He's a good passing back. We've seen it over the weeks. And this is a better match for against Atlanta. He's had 2 tough matchups in a row, that being Chicago and New Orleans. Much better spot here against Atlanta. So I do like Mike Davis a good amount for his price. Cannon's the backup. Maybe plays a few snaps. Wide receiver situation, it's Moore, it's Anderson. Again, they're going to play majority. Both got around 90%. Curtis Samuel did only play 48% of snaps, but I wouldn't be overly concerned about that either. We do have Seth Roberts is no longer on the team. He played 41% of snaps last game. He is, I believe it's on the Steelers or Texans, someone's practice squad, I forget who. Who's going to be the number 4? I would guess it's going to be Zylstra. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing that name. He played 11% of snaps. maybe gets a little bit more. He's super, super cheap, but again, nothing there I can really go to with confidence either. Tight end situation, Ian Thomas is surprising. He's just not getting any looks in this offense. He's going to play a majority of the game. Manhurst is the backup, but neither Carolina tight end is really getting targeted at all. So, the target share is pretty condensed for Carolina, right? It's Davis out of the backfield, and it's the 3 wide receivers. You know where the ball is going to with Carolina, which I think is good in a way, all right? Like, you don't have a whole lot of options to pick from. All right, but that's it for, Vegas odds, snap counts. Real quick, I will ask, if you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button. It does really help me out. All the content is free. So subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button. But yeah, let's get into the player-by-player breakdown here. At the top, again, no McCaffrey, so obviously don't go him. Talk about the quarterbacks here. So Matt Ryan's 11K, Bridgewater's at 10.6. For a cash game setting, I think you probably look to getting both quarterbacks in there, since, again, they do have the highest floor. Cash, I would probably start my lineup with something like this, with those two and a guy like Mike Davis, just because Mike Davis is the workhorse back and he's getting a lot of work through the air. That's probably how I would go about, building a cash game lineup. Now, you can mess with who you want to throw in captain and the value, right? But that's probably how I would start it if I was playing head-to-heads, 50-50s tonight. Now, again, I don't play head-to-heads in these showdown sites. I don't play 50-50s. I don't play cash. I play GBP, so I get a little riskier. And in those GBP lineups, it's about 75% of the time a running back or wide receiver is in the captain spot in the winning lineup. So, that's where I look most of the time. But yeah, back to quarterback. Ryan, with his price at 11K, he's had back-to-back pretty solid weeks, actually, after 3 straight weeks being not good. But he's at over 300 yards, no picks, and 5 touchdowns. With him and Bridgewater, who do I prefer? I guess give me Bridgewater. I don't really have a strong take here on which quarterback, but if you made me pick, I'll go Bridgewater because he's a guy that can at times get some rushing upside, right? 32, 48 yards on the ground in 2 last 4 games. Not a guy that's going to run a ton, but at least has that ability to run one in. And I like the matchup maybe a little bit better for him than I do Matt Ryan. But again, that's not really a strong take. If you prefer Ryan or Bridgewater, I'm not going to talk you off him. I think, again, the safe way is to get both in there. But there's very, very little value. Like, the player pool, I think, is going to be pretty condensed. Like, there's not a lot of guys to choose from. Unless you're just like taking dart throws and like the min-price guys. There's about, 10 to 12 players that are in play in the slate I think you can feel safe with. So, that's kind of my thoughts with the quarterback situation. No real strong take on which one I do prefer. It's kind of my same analysis here with the 2 main receivers for Atlanta. It's like flip a coin, really, with Ridley versus Julio. They're almost identical prices. Ridley's $400 more. Who do I think will be more popular? I think Ridley slightly, just because Julio's been dealing with injuries, but both guys are going to get the targets. Both guys have big play upside. Both have the ability to break the slate. And can you play both? Yes, you can. But like I said, there's very, very little value on the slate, so it will make it a little bit different. But I think that is an interesting way to differentiate yourself, is to play both Ridley and Julio. I don't think a lot of people will do that. Definitely a strategy there for GPPs, but again, with which one do I prefer? It's flip a coin for me. I like them both if you can get to them. If you have to pick one, again, hopefully you get lucky in which one you do pick, because I don't have a strong preference there either. Mike Davis is the guy that I feel pretty good about here at 8K, at 8.8K. Like, he would be the guy that I would try to jam into your lineups. He's the guy I feel the most comfortable with at his price, for the reason of he's just going to play majority of the game. And he's a guy that's game flow independent. It doesn't matter if they're playing from ahead or behind. He will be utilized in both ways. Did only have 7 carries the last game. I'm not worried about it at all. I think this is the game he could definitely go for 20-plus touches. The previous 3 games, 16, 16, 18 carries on the ground. He's a guy that has, a ton of targets, right? 8, 9, 6, 10, 3, 5, averaging about like 6 or so targets a game is really, really good for running back. It definitely raises his floor. So Mike Davis, I really like. Now, is he a must play? No. No one's must play on these slates, and these slates are super, super high variance. Even though I've been running hot in these slates, I never enter a ton, just because there's just a lot of luck involved. There is. But yeah, back to the player-by-player breakdown. Robbie Anderson versus versus a DJ Moore. It's about $1,000 difference. Robbie Anderson's been playing better than DJ Moore. This is more a gut feel, but I'll take Moore slightly over Robbie Anderson if you can make me pick. Again, it's not a super strong take, but Moore's been a little bit more up and down. I still think maybe he does have a little bit more upside. He's a guy a lot of people were super high on going into this year. He has been terrible, but hasn't really necessarily lived up to the huge hype. It's kind of been Robbie Anderson that was a surprise, playing really, really well. So with the main two receivers here for Carolina, both, again, we know where the targets are going to with this Carolina offense. It's Davis, it's the 3 wide receivers. Neither tight end is really utilized. So you know where Bridgewater's going most of the time. Both Moore and Anderson should get a ton of targets. Both have that big play upside, and you're both you're getting a little bit of a discount off of Julio and Calvin Ridley. So yeah, if you made me pick, I'll go DJ Moore over Anderson. As far as Todd Gurley goes at 8.4K, I think he's a fine play. I do prefer Mike Davis on the opposite side if you're going to make me pick the running backs. Now, can you play both running backs in this game? Yes, right? There is, not supposed to be not the best weather, so maybe both teams rely a little bit more on the running game. 20 and 23 carries last couple games for Gurley is good to see. He's actually been getting some targets too. 5, 4, and 3 is not awful. He did get a boost in playing time. We'll see if that continues. Yeah, I do prefer Mike Davis to Gurley, but that doesn't make Gurley out of play. It's all about, again, how you think this game plays out. If you're building one lineup, build it with how you think the game flows. If you think the Falcons are playing from a lead, then maybe Gurley looks a little bit better, right? Whereas Davis, I think, is game flow independent. So that's a slight risk, I think, with Gurley is if the Falcons fall behind, maybe by a couple scores, that maybe they don't look his way as much. Whereas I feel a little bit more comfortable that Davis will play no matter what, right? Again, Hurst, he's just at a tricky price range at 6'4". You have a lot of guys at the top that people are going to try to jam in. There's some value with Samuel, with Gage, with the kickers, Hill, but that's really it. So I don't know if a ton of people get to Hurst. I don't know if he has slate breaking upside, but he's a guy that is still running a lot of routes. He's a guy that's getting targeted a decent amount. If you go back to week 1, 5 targets, 8 targets, 3 targets, 6, 4, and 7. So yeah, I don't think he's going to break the slate unless he catches a couple touchdowns, but I don't think he's necessarily going to kill you either. So Hurst is one of those guys that I'm fine if you land on. I'm fine if you get away with it. It's just he seems priced about right. It's okay with me, right? It's just a fine play. Now we get to the value here. So Samuel and Gage, I think, are the top 2 value plays on the slate. Samuel is a guy that they will, with no Christian McCaffrey, he's gotten some carries, 4, 2, 4, and 1 carries the last 4 games. He actually ran one in last game. So yeah, that raises his floor maybe a little bit, that he will get some work on the ground, probably maybe a couple carries. I think, with no Roberts, that is a boost to him unless they just give all those snaps to Zylstra. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Samuel maybe pushes for 60 to 70% of the snaps. And he's a guy that has shown some good upside, 45, 51, 36, and 48 yards through the air the last 4 games. He's at a very reasonable price here at 5.4K. So definitely considering Samuel over value. I think he looks pretty good. Also, I like Russell Gage a good amount. Only played 32% of the snaps last game because that knee injury actually came back in, though. In that limited time, he had 6 catches and 7 targets. Now, sure, right, he's been a little up and down. He had a really, really good start to the year with 23 and 16 fantasy points and kind of cooled off in the middle and then kind of picked back up in limited fashion that last game. So which Gage are we going to get? Who knows? But he'll play on the slot. I think he does get a good amount of work. I would say 60-ish, 60 to 70% of the snaps. I think he's, at this price, does not have to do a whole lot to pay off value. And with there being so little value, I feel like Russell Gage is definitely someone I'm considering for value. Him, Samuel, right now are the top 2 value plays for me. Now, the kickers are playable, right, with Sly and Koo. My worry is just, the weather, with it being a little bit windy, possibly some rain. It's not a huge worry, but just something to consider if you're going to go to a kicker. There are safer options. Floor usually around 5 fancy points, upside about 15. This is a game that's projected to be a little bit higher scoring, so maybe that raises the floor slightly on both kicker So yeah, if you want to go either kicker, that's perfectly fine with me. Personally, like I like the upside a little bit more on Samuel and Gage if you can get to him. But with there being so little value, it might be tricky. So that's my thoughts. The defenses are viable. Like the prices make them at least playable here. They don't need a whole lot to pay off their salary, right? All you really need is like a kick return for 6, a pick 6, fumble. You need something like that. And then the defense basically will pay off the salary as long as they don't give up like 50 points. So I'm not really, if you're a single entry guy like myself, I probably wouldn't go to either defense on this slate. But of course, if you're making 150 lineups, you can definitely throw them in the player pool. I wouldn't have huge exposure to either, but crazier things have happened, and with there being not the best weather, I think that is a slight boost to the defense actually. Maybe there's a little sloppier play, maybe a few more interceptions, maybe some guys, fumble. So it is a slight boost, the weather to the defenses, but still, for single entry, I probably still can't get to either. Ian Thomas at 2.6, sure, you can consider him, right? You have right below him is Brian Hill. He's going to be, the chalk super value, like the super value play. Now, what is chalk? I don't know, 20-30%. Brian Hill, I think, will be his ownership just because there's, no value. So with no Ito Smith, maybe Brian Hill gets a little bit more work. He's a guy that, is a decent pass-catching back. So I would expect probably somewhere in the range of 5 to 8 touches, maybe a little bit more for Brian Hill at that price point. Again, does not need a whole lot to get you there. But back to Thomas, he's playing a lot, but he's not getting targeted. He had that one game against Arizona, we had 5 targets. But other than that, it's been like 1 or 2 targets a game. Sure, if you catch a touchdown, he's probably going to get, that's all you really need from him. So not saying to X him out, but it's just he's not really getting a lot of looks at the moment. Yeah, Zacchaeus at 1K, I would probably rather take a shot on a guy like Zylstra at $400. I think he'll be the number 4 receiver here for the Panthers. If we go back to Carolina, he played 11% of the snaps, and we have no Seth Roberts. So sure, again, I think a good amount of that goes to Samuel, but I think maybe a little bit goes to Zylstra. So you can at least consider him. He's nothing more than a dart throw, but I would prefer him to the guy Zacchaeus, who was barely played, only played 15% of the snaps. Again, Zacchaeus, I guess you can consider him as a dart throw too. And then the last guy, again, both tight ends, both backup tight ends with Stocker and Manhurst. Sure, throw them in the player pool if you're making a ton of lineups, but neither are really involved in the offense here. Both, averaging maybe 1 target a game. And then finally, a guy I do want to mention. I didn't mention it in the video, but Quadri Olson is going to be the number 3 running back tonight for Atlanta with no Ito Smith. Ito Smith's a healthy scratch, so that leads me to believe that if he's a healthy scratch, that they must be somewhat impressed with what they're seeing from Olson. So I think he will get some touches tonight. Now, how many? I don't think a lot, maybe 1 or 2 carries. But at $200, he's a big running back, so maybe they bring him in the red zone. Again, all you'd obviously need is him to run one in the red zone. So you can consider him. I think he's going to be super low on because we just did get that news about an hour ago of Ito Smith being a healthy scratch. So, yeah, if you want to get super risky, maybe throw Olsen in your player pool. But that really wraps it up. Below Brian Hill, it's just all dart throws, and then that's the value on the site, right? It's Hill, it's the 2 kickers, it's Samuel and Gage. And then you have the spend up guys. What is it? That's 5 guys that are viable. Hurst is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's going to be a pretty small player pool. About 14 guys I think you can feel comfortable with. Sure, again, you can include a few more, but nothing you can really go to with confidence. And then finally, captains, who do I like? If you want to follow my lead, I always tell you guys where I'm going. I'm going Mike Davis in the captain. I just really like his floor with his upside with no McCaffrey. So if you want to follow my lead, you can go Davis. But yeah, the guys that I like for upside are Davis, the top receivers for both teams with Julio, Ridley, with guys like Moore and Anderson. And then for value, Gage and Samuel, I think you can look to. An interesting way to build lineups, if you want to get a bit riskier, is take a shot in someone cheap in the captain, then that kind of relieves, gives you some salary relief. So say you want to go Russell Gage. I originally did have Gage in the captain, but rearranged some stuff a little bit. If you go Gage, that does, you can probably get both quarterbacks Davis and maybe one of the main receivers. Again, you'd have to mess around with it, but that is always a viable strategy. All right, we have about 10 minutes until lock, so let's get some questions. I'll ask one more time. I don't want to be annoying, but hit the like button if you enjoy the content. It does really, really help me out, guys. We are currently at almost 300 viewers right now. Let's see. Davis, a must-play in DK. I don't necessarily think he's a must-play, but he's the guy that I feel the most comfortable with at his price, and that's where I'm going at captain. Always quarterback, play them both. DK, my man, do you think a lot of people are concentrating so much on Calvin and Julio that there could be a way to get different by playing Gurley? Yeah, I don't think Gurley is going to be super popular. The way that I think the slate is going to go, at least for tournaments, is, both quarterbacks are obviously going to be popular. I think Mike Davis will be pretty popular. And I think one of the main receivers. I think people are going to try to get to either Julio or Ridley. So, yeah, I think Gurley does fly under the radar a little bit. Definitely a way you could get different. No, he's not going to be like super, super low owned, but I think Gurley does maybe 20 to 30% owned, maybe a little more. There's a good chance of rain. I don't think Matt Ryan is a must-play at all. Yeah, again, both quarterbacks are not must-plays for cash games. I probably do play both quarterbacks, and I probably play Mike Davis. That's the way that I would go. And then, fill in the rest of your roster. And the value plays that I like, Samuel and Gage. Pick two of the 5 value guys you mentioned. It's Samuel and Gage for me if you can get to them, if you can. Those are the two I feel the most comfortable with. Those are the two I think have the most upside. I think Hill will get ownership just because there's nothing else, right? There's no other value on the slate. Spamming that like button. Thank you, man. Gurley, let's see. Gurley, Samuel, or Julio and Koo for cash. That's a tough one. For cash games, it's probably Gurley, Samuel for cash. Sly or Koo for kickers. I don't have a strong take there. Flip a coin. I wish I did, but I don't really have a preference in either kicker. Hill, Samuel, or Cannon, Gurley. I would just feel more comfortable with Hill and Samuel there. Favorite $200 play. If you're taking a shot on someone that cheap, it's Olsen for me. I think again, I brought that up that Ito Smith's a healthy inactive. It's not like he's injured. So if they're giving him a healthy scratch, they must feel somewhat good with Olsen. So I think he does probably get a couple of touches here, but yeah, that's the guy I would go to if I was going to take a shot down here, just because I don't think a lot of people get to him, and we did just get that news like about an hour ago. So yeah, he would be the guy, but it's nothing more than a super, super risky play. Both quarterbacks in single entry, not necessarily a single entry GBP. I don't think it's an absolute must, just because we have a lot of guys with upside. The top 3 receivers for both teams, I think, all have a good amount of upside. So I don't think you had to play both quarterbacks in GPPs. Gurley or Davis captain, for me, it's Davis. Is fading both quarterbacks a viable way to get different than Millie Maker? Yeah, but the chance that works out is super, super slim. So sure, it's a way to get different. Not a lot of people are going to do it. I probably wouldn't do it on this slate in a game that's projected to be higher scoring. If it's like a uglier game, kind of like that Bears-Rams game, that's a game I could consider making a lineup with no quarterbacks. But in this type of game, probably not. A DK single entry GPP, captain Mike Davis, Gurley, Gage, Julio, Teddy, and Koo. Perfectly fine with that. Captain Davis, Julio, Moore, Ryan, and Samuel. I like that as well. Do you think both quarterbacks will be in the Millie Maker lineup, in the winning Millie Maker lineup? That's tough. I think at least one for sure, obviously. With it being so high scoring, it depends. If both quarterbacks really spread out their targets, like everything's spread out like pretty evenly, then I think there's a way that, or then I think there's a good chance that they're both in the Millie Maker lineup. But if you have a couple guys that both quarterbacks are kind of keying in on and get a lot of work, then you're probably going to want to take a shot at some of those wide receivers, right? So a tricky question, I guess. Gage or Samuel? Give me Samuel, but I'm personally playing both tonight. Jones or Ridley if I have enough cash for both. For me, again, that's almost a coin flip. I'll go Ridley just because Julio has an injury history. He's been injured a bit this year. So give me Ridley. I think Ridley might be a little bit more popular, though. Gage or Sly for a cash lineup. I think I still go Gage there. I feel pretty good about him at his price. I don't think he's a must-play, but I think he does get a bump up in work from that last game. Again, I know he's been a little up and down, but he doesn't need a whole lot to get you there. Core, it depends. Are you playing cash? Are you playing GBP? The cash core is both quarterbacks and Mike Davis. The GBP core, I guess, would be for me Mike Davis, and then the two value receivers with Samuel and Gage. That's the way that I'm going. Bridgewater or Davis and captain and cash have money for either. For me, it's Davis. Is it dumb to play all three Carolina wide receivers? Not dumb. It's going to be different. So it can work out, right? Do you like the captain? Let's see, Davis, Flex, Teddy, Julio, DJ Moore, Gage, and Sly. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. What player under 1K and DK has the most upside? Under 1K? So my favorite $200 play, I think, is Olesen. Under 1K, again, don't play Ito Smith. He is not active. I would say, I guess, Zylstra or Zacchaeus. Both are probably the number 4 receivers for their respective teams. Zacchaeus played 15% of snaps the last game. Zylstra played 11%. Again, we have no Roberts, so maybe he plays a little bit more. So one of those two guys. Captain Davis, yep, that's the way that I'm going. It's going to be a popular build, but I feel pretty comfortable with that. I wouldn't play all three. Yeah, I mean, it's not a safe way to go building a lineup playing all three Carolina receivers, but you will differentiate yourself, and it's possible that it works out, right? You probably need Carolina to win pretty convincingly, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Curtis Samuel opens up a lot. Yeah, I like Samuel, and I like Gage for value tonight. Gage, captain, Anderson, Bridgewater, Davis, Moore, and Samuel GPP. Okay, yeah, so you're basically, Gage is your only Falcon, right? Yeah, so you're basically doing a Carolina stack with Gage at captain. I don't hate that. The way that works out is if Carolina obviously dominates the game, and then, yeah, I think that's a perfectly fine way to go about it. Davis, captain, Gurley, Moore, Ridley, Anderson, and Cannon. Yeah, Cannon he'll play a few snaps. Again, it's nothing more than a dart throw. Teddy in the flex, lock in the flex. I don't think either quarterback's necessarily a lock on the slate, but both seem like safe options. How confident Samuel are you? I mean, I think he does. He played about 50% of the snaps the last game. We had Seth Roberts, who was the number 4, played 41%. No more Seth Roberts, so Samuel looked good when he played. I think he does get more work here. He's not a must-play. Neither Samuel or Gage are must-play, but again, if you want to follow my lead, I am playing both those guys for value. Cooper Gage, again, it's Gage for me. Captain Gage, Mike Davis, Julio, DJ, Matt Ryan, and Curtis Samuel. Perfectly fine with that. You on the Gurley train? I'm actually not getting the Gurley, just because you can't play everyone, and I only build one lineup, so I prefer Davis to Gurley. Now, Davis is probably going to be 2x the ownership of Gurley. I think it'll be a lot more popular than Todd, so that is a way to differentiate yourself. Again, these slates are super high variance, a lot of luck involved, so my advice to you guys is play for fun. Don't go crazy on these slates. I save it for the main slates. So, okay to fade Ridley and Matt Ryan for the other studs. Yeah, you don't have to play either of them. Neither are must plays. They're not. Jones, Davis, or Ridley and Gurley. It's Jones and Davis for me. Moore and Julio touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, there's a decent chance both those guys. Thoughts on Brian Hill? Yeah, with there being so little value, he's the guy I think will be pretty popular. And my guess, maybe 20 to 30% owned, just because we have very, very little value on the slate. So I think he's a decent option. He doesn't need a whole lot to get you there. I think 20 to 30% of the snaps. He's shown he's a decent passing running back with, I think, 2 catches in the last 3 games or so, 2 catches in every game. So I think he's a perfectly fine value option. I already answered that. Samuel, captain, both quarterbacks, Julio, Moore, Hill. I'm good with it. How does this look, DK? Captain, Davis, utility, Teddy, Hurst, Gage, Samuel, and Ridley. That is the exact lineup that I have. So we're on the same train there. Left $1,500 on the table. Yeah, I guess we're at lock. I didn't mention it. I did mention in the video, but there's $1 million up top. If you're trying to take that solo, you got to get different somehow, right? We're locked. Thanks, DK. Let's go, fellas. Hey, what's up, Cam? No problem, man. Happy to help. Hey, DK, 100% Mike Davis, 80% Gurley for 20 lines. Do you think You think either D can stop the run? You agree? Ugly game in my opinion. And neither defense is great. And with there being shaky weather, both teams might rely on the run a little bit more. So you're taking a stand with both running backs. I like the 100% Mike Davis. Like, he's my favorite play on the slate. 80% Gurley. I think he is a little bit of a contrarian option, but I think a lot of people will try to get to either Ridley or Julio, so that will make Gurley a little bit contrarian. I'm perfectly fine with playing both running backs like you did. Time for kickoff. Thanks for the help, man. Of course. Got Hurst at captain. He played at South Carolina. Yeah, he was just at a tricky price, right? Hurst is what, 6'4". I don't think a ton of people get to him. I almost want Hurst at captain today. I faded the defenses. Yeah, so for single entry, I couldn't get to the defenses, but I can see them paying off their salary with there being not the best weather, right? And both are cheaper. Both are a lot cheaper than the last showdown slate. Waiting for ownership to come in, and then I'll hop out here. So we'll go over ownership in the Millie Maker. I can show you guys what I went with. I actually faded. I faded Matt Ryan. Do I feel good about that? No, but it's the only way I could really go about. Here, let's go over my lineup in the Millie Maker. So this is what I went with. Mike Davis, the captain, with Bridgewater and Samuel for value. Ran it back with Ridley, Hurst, and Gage. Hurst is the way that I'm going to get different. Right, he was only 18% owned. I knew he would fly under the radar with the tricky price range. Davis 61%. I'm not surprised about that. Bridgewater 60%. Not super surprised. Ridley at 38%. Samuel 40%. Gage 33%. There's no real shock here. Right, it's kind of what I expected. I'll scroll through some other lineups to see what other people got here as far as ownership. So Julio 37%, Ridley was 38%, so it's almost identical. Robbie Anderson at 48% owned. Zacchaeus 5%. Again, that's a dart throw. Gurley is 51%. That is, I'm a little bit surprised that that's higher than I thought. I thought Gurley would be maybe in the 30% range with Davis at 60%. So that does surprise me a little bit, but I get it, right? Gurley he's been a touchdown machine the last few games. The defense is 7% and 5%. That seems okay, right? Because with the bad weather, I could see either defense paying it off. DJ Moore, 47%. You had Anderson at 48%. So you have almost identical ownership with the top two receivers, right? Ridley and Julio about 38%. Moore and Anderson about 48%. Matt Ryan, 43%. So Bridgewater actually was a little bit more popular than Matt Ryan. Again, I faded Ryan. But yeah, I think that's really going to wrap it up, guys. So go back to my lineup. That's what I went with. Let's see. Should have went Cooler owned. Hurst 20% is going to pay off big. We'll see. Brian Hill 29%. Yeah, so that's, again, with there being so little value, I get it. There's nothing else to go to. So I get why he was pretty popular. I think he was a decent option. I didn't get to him, but if you land on Brian Hill, that's perfectly fine. Captain Gage, Ryan, Teddy, Davis, Gurley, and Sly for cash. I'm good with that as well. Julio, 20 yards to start. All right, well, I'm going to head out here, guys. I'm going to go watch the game. I really do appreciate you guys coming to check the live stream. We almost got to 300 viewers. Really, really happy about that. So good luck tonight. Enjoy the game, and I will see you guys later. I'll have a final look video for Week 8's main slate up tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. Julio, what the fuck? Did he just go off or something? Probably a couple of big catches, right? Well, that kind of sucks, or at least for me. If you have Julio, probably not. But all right, good luck, guys, and I will see you all later.